There are 3 things that I wish I knew before taking commerce in class 11 and 12. Okay, so this is one of the most important topics I want to cover in this video, is the implication of additional subjects on your college courses. Now, as a commerce student, you're probably in one of these streams. Now, someone might come along and tell you picking any of these additional subjects would be completely fine and there would be no problems in the future, which is absolutely false. Now see, the additional subject that you pick in 11 that goes throughout your 12th can affect the courses which you can and can't do in college. I'll give you an example. One of my friends, he's going to the UK, the University of Manchester if I'm not wrong, and he wanted to go for finance, which is absolutely fine. But he had to complete 1 extra year before his 4-year course, before his 3 or 4-year course in finance actually started. This is because the additional subject that he chose was psychology and not math. So he chose commerce with psychology, not commerce with math. And in finance, I mean, there's quite a bit of math that you do use, and so he's now forced into taking accounting and finance or marketing or economics as a major. And this is just one example. I have countless friends that have had to face the same exact situation, either in the UK, in the US, Canada, all other countries apart from India. So if you are going abroad, this information is extremely important, and if you're not, I would advise you to please tell about this kind of stuff to your friends who might be taking commerce in the future. I mean, my friends wanted to switch from commerce with math to commerce with psychology or commerce with web app or commerce with anything that didn't belong math, and my friends who were in commerce with psychology and web app wanted to switch to commerce with math because it essentially meant doing 1 year less in a course that required math. However, this thing doesn't require with all universities around the world, so please check with your colleges if you don't need a specific additional subject to complete a course that would otherwise require an extra year. And I say this because it's nearly impossible to change your additional subject throughout midway 11th and 12th. Unless you want to repeat another year of 11th with a completely different course, which also most schools may not provide. Alright, this is the most important section in this entire video. My advice on every subject, but this isn't entirely my advice, but the advice of the teachers who taught these subjects that would keep on repeating these sentences throughout almost all the lectures, as well as my friends and my personal experiences. And so with accountancy, which is the base of commerce, I would suggest practice, practice, practice. Practice past year question papers, practice current year question papers, practice model papers. And actually, let me get you one of the hardest chapters in accounts. And it's not hard per se, it's just that you need to be well versed with all the components in this chapter, just in case you don't forget anything. It is pretty difficult to remember everything in accounts, especially of this chapter, which is cash flow statement. I think it's the fifth chapter, yeah. Don't mind the marking scheme, it might have changed this year, but usually a lot of marks come from cash flow statement. So yeah, do focus on that a little bit. And economics is fairly easy. I can't really think of anything that was potentially hard. It's just that there is quite a bit to mug up. Also for economics, in class 11, you'd have macroeconomics and microeconomics, whereas in class 12, you'd probably have IED, Indian Economic Development, and macroeconomics. And business studies. This is by far the most boring subject I have ever learned in my life. No offense to my teacher, she was great, she was absolutely nice, a wonderful woman, but it was just so boring. I can't even express in words. The reason why I chose commerce in itself is because I thought we would learn about, business, and we did technically learn about business, but it was so much theory. There's just so much stuff in there that I can guarantee you I won't use ever in my life. And I could say that for at least quarter to half of the things. However, business studies is going to be a bit challenging to mug up as compared to economics, and this is my personal opinion, so it is highly advisable to learn the actual meanings of these things rather than just mugging them up, so that you can write it in your own words. Psychology, well, I didn't take psychology, so I can't really talk on it. However, I have heard from almost all my friends, I'm pretty sure all of them, that psychology is extremely easy. I've heard many of my friends who got full in psychology in boards in 11th and 12th, so I don't think you should really worry about that subject. Physical education. Now again, I didn't take physical education, but I have many friends who did, and all of them said the same thing. It's extremely easy, but it's extremely boring. Also, I forgot this part. There's only 2 reasons why you would ever pick physical education. One reason for taking P is that you might think that you might end up performing really bad in one of your examinations in your boards, but you might be able to replace that. And the second reason is that you think you might get more playing time, which is absolutely false. That's absolutely not how it worked, at least in my school. I don't know about other schools, but I'm pretty sure you don't get more playing time if you take PE. In fact, it actually compromises your PE because when the time of PE comes, right, physical education, and that all of us are running outside, the ones who haven't taken PE, running outside, getting replay, while the guys who took PE have to stay in class and listen to some boring lecture. So please think of that before you take PE. Again, this is not the case with every school, but at least mine. Now it's time to talk about math, in particular, my stream, commerce with maths. Math was a special subject, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of my friends wanted to switch from commerce with math to psychology and web app, but they couldn't because it was too late. And I can't blame them because math was horrible. You know, I still remember my first varied test in 11th grade. The average class mark was around 24 out of 30 and I got 27.5. And in 12th grade, one of my last exams ever, the average class mark was 15 out of 30. And I was well below 15. I mean, half the class had literally failed. I knew the people who got the best marks in math get extremely low, especially in that test, just because we were focused on more important things, like preparing for other chapters that weren't asked on the test, but would be asked in the board's exam. I can't really give you a lot of advice on math because it really depends on the class teacher that you have, but I didn't have the best one because the class discipline was absolutely horrible. I mean, people were throwing tables at the last bench. It wasn't nice. It also depends on the tuition teacher you go to, and most importantly, depends on the amount of papers you've practiced, on the amount of question papers that you've practiced. I can't really think of a hard chapter. One thing I will say is that don't be scared to ask questions because math in 12th can get really confusing. So I would definitely suggest you guys to speak up and actually ask the questions, or else trust me, it could be a very hard time. Okay, so for this part of the video, I can actually talk at my normal pace. I can't really tell you much about my 11th grade because I've forgotten almost half of it. And that's mainly because I've had the worst year of my life yet in 11th grade. But I'm pretty sure the main advice I would give my 11th and 12th self would be just to be consistent with studying, really. Not to take long breaks in the middle. Try to focus more, procrastinate less. Delete all my socials at least 2 weeks right before my main exams. That would have helped a lot. And I actually did that for my boards. All the other exams, not really. And I was actually part of a batch that in the first time in CBSE history had to give 3 board exams. So that was something else in itself, really. My 9th and 10th really went in quarantine. So right after coming out of quarantine, which is in 11th grade, let's just say I was extremely introverted. So it took a lot just to make some new friends in my class. And yeah, all I'm gonna say is just be consistent with your studying. That's really it. That's all you need really to score really well. And also a really good tuition teacher. That would help a lot immensely. And yeah, that's pretty much it really. I mean, now my board exams ended. I feel great. Also, if anyone didn't tell you this yet, you get so much free time right after you're done with boards, and also completing any other examinations after it. And there's so much free time right after those examinations end. You can actually do what you want. I despise waking up at 6 a.m. every single day. Not to mention the amount of sleep deprivation that I had because I used to sleep at 12 or 1. Most of us do that. Most of us used to do that. Like, come on. It was, that peacefulness is something else. And also, if any of you guys are worried about which university you're gonna go to, which stream you're gonna take, all I can really say is that there's been quite literally millions of people that have been in the same situation as you, and we've all got through it. And also, no one will know exactly what course or degree or major they're going to be doing in 10th grade or 11th or maybe even 12th. But my advice is that you should have at least something planned. At least figure out what country you're going to go to in 10th or 11th. So that you don't need to worry about it in 12th. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. And check this video out. 3 a.m. workout. It was a madness.